Hey guys, this is Light, and welcome to my early season slash preseason tier list. And it is a bit early for this, but a lot of people are wondering how good like the newer units are, and like how good the balance patch units are. So yeah, I'm just gonna make this real quick. To be honest, the game has changed quite a bit already since the end of the season. And we'll go through the changes, and if this is your first time watching any of these videos, I'll explain the tiers. So tier 0 are the most influential units in the game, and you probably want to ban one or two of them unless you have a very specific playstyle. And then we have the S tier units. These are the core units that you will see literally every game, and very possibly you might have a game that has all of these units in them. So yeah, very common units. Then we have the A tier, which are, common late picks to usually counter the enemy's draft. And yeah. And we also have the B tier. These units, they're very rare picks, but they do have a spot. Maybe you'll pick them in like 1 out of 100 games. Maybe. But yeah, honestly, anything after A tier is really whatever. Like, there's very rare niche picks that, you build for very specific situations, and like they'll win you a game maybe. And then I don't really rank a cleave units besides like the meta cleave openers, because if cleave is strong, which it is, then the cleave units will also be strong. And right now Zeo cleave is really trendy, and Briar cleave is also very trendy, but you must be very fast. Besides that, Fire is okay, but I think Braceria cleave and Zeo cleave are just like the best cleaves right now. Zeo is really good because he's accessible, and Braceria is really good when you can gear gap people with like your insane speed or something. So yeah. And then I also have like a tier for like really old, outdated units that like maybe used to be good but aren't good anymore. If anyone was wondering what was happening to like X unit or whatever. So yeah, let's get into it. So for tier 0, we have Scales. Scales is still insane. Best cleave anchor in the game. There's still not much solution to her. Yeah, she just makes the cleave team like way too unkillable. I don't know. I don't really see this unit ever going away. Unless they make like an opener that kills her specifically, she's definitely not gonna go away. Unfortunately. I believe, let's see. Last season, she was the highest win rate unit in the game next to Biblis. So she is still absolutely insane. She is not going anywhere. And which is crazy, because like she's, I believe she's almost a year old because she came out during E7 World Cup. So she's been in the meta since her release. Like, they failed to push her out. But yeah, very strong unit. Like, she's just good because like she has a lot of cutting potential, so like she's a really good disruptor, and she just stops your cleave team from dying. And also, like, she does 1 billion damage with abundance too, and she can perma fear you. It's really annoying, and no matter how many photogenics you have, she's still an issue. Yeah, easy tier 0. And we have Nodos, also known as the most boring unit in the game, next to Arunka, to be honest. Nodos is really easy. He's just press S3 and win. And Nodos is OP because of an age-old problem where, like, if you pick Nodos, then the other person needs to invest like 2 to 3 units to deal with your Nodos. But then if you flex into cleave, they no longer have enough units to deal with your cleave, and then they die. You cannot deal with Nodos and a cleave at the same time. It is just way too hard unless you're gear gapping and you're faster. So Nodos easy tier 0. Because, if you play aggressively with him, it's very difficult for the other person to do anything. So yeah, easy tier 0. Him and Scales are like the best cleave anchors in the game. And then we have RNL. RNL is a very, very disgusting unit. She can just one-tap like basically anything that she can defense break. And you can't even, you know, be safe from her if you build ER. Because for some reason, if you build RNL with a 100 effectiveness, she still has enough damage to one-tap your units if she defense breaks you. And what people do is that they tune RNL to be slower than their main opener. So if you try to pick something like Moon Bunny to counter RNL, you're getting screwed by their other opener. For example, let's say you have a 320 Bryceria into a 310 RNL, the Moon Bunny is doing nothing to that. So yeah, RNL is a huge menace. But she does too much damage. She's really flexible. She's a huge threat because there's not many things that actually kill her right now. And also, getting fear slopped is not fun. And like, you know, and if she has a soul burn, you're just down a unit guaranteed. It's just nonsense. But she's also a kind of a slot machine unit. If you 15% her, if you always wake up from fear, she's whatever. But usually she will get some insane value. So yeah, and also she's a safe early pick. She's a speed pick, but she's also a safe early pick, which means, you know, you're always threatened by speed, which is really annoying. So yeah, RNL, super top tier. Absolutely despise the unit. Would have been a bit more balanced if you know, building effectiveness actually nerfed her damage, but no. Even if she has effectiveness, she still will one-shot you. And then we have Biblis, and Biblis was also the highest win rate unit in the game last season. She literally had like the same win rate as Scales, I think. Like Biblis, even though there's Ludwig, even though there's effectiveness RNL, she's still really oppressive because her passive is just that strong, and she basically makes raw damage cleave unplayable because she just does too much. She heals too much, and she makes people too tanky. She's just ridiculously strong. Like, even though there's Ludwig, even though there's plenty of units that counter her and debuffers, she's still really safe and strong. Because like, when you try to cleave a Biblis, there's like so many things that can go wrong for you. Like, she can 15%, she can randomly cleanse at the wrong time for you. Like, she's just a really solid and safe unit. Like, she just has insane value, and Chenille doesn't do anything to her. Unsurprisingly. So yeah. Bill is still tier 0, really strong. But you know who's not tier 0 anymore? Arunka. So I can't put Arunka at tier 0 anymore. I think Fumir just takes just absolutely destroys her. Cause like usually like if you first pick Arunka, they'll just go Fumir on their 3, and then your Arunka is useless. Like, don't get me wrong, she's still a really good unit, but to deal with Fumir, you either need to steal the Fumir or you need to race the Fumir, and either way, it's not that good for you. So yeah, I think with the existence of Fumir, it actually does knock Arunka down. For sure. But yeah, but Arunka is still solid and still really good for protecting your damage dealers. However, a bit outdated. Oh, sorry, not really outdated, but like she has a solid counter now, and like it's an easy unit to pick too. Like, it's a 124 base speed unit. It can be really tanky. Yeah, Arunka actually has a decently solid counter. Unless like you get cleaved by Celine plus Arunka plus like 320 speed units, then yeah, that's an issue. But you know, in the turn 2 versus turn 2 matchup, Fumir destroys Arunka, which is why we will have to move her down from tier 0. Regardless though, she's still pretty strong. She can still win the matchup, but it's not in her favor. And we have Ludwig. Ludwig was a recent addition to the game towards the end of the season. He's actually pretty good. A lot of people center their drafts around him, although I feel like that's a bit of a mistake. I think he's a really solid unit to deal with stuff like Tori, Celine, whatever, like especially if you're on Guiding Light. He has a lot of potential. He can just be a normal cleave bridge with a soul artifact, or he can be a DPS with a Guiding Light to cheese teams that are like single target centric. Like, he does have a lot of potential. Buff block is super threatening. Yeah, he's very threatening. And even if like you pick stuff like Bellion or something to try to counter him, he can still stun lock you and be cringe. Very solid unit. Very popular. And we have Fumir. Fumir is an insane unit. I would say no, normally I think I had her at tier 0, but I think I'll put her in S tier because like you never first pick Fumir. You always save Fumir till like 3 or 4 pick. Because like usually she's way better when picked in response to something, but she's very impactful. Like just minusing 1 unit for free is crazy. But yeah, Fumir super strong. She's particularly strong too with stuff like A-Ross because you know, you take a unit out and then your A-Ross suddenly does like 1 billion damage. It's pretty sick. But yeah, Fumir, very strong unit. It helps that her base speed is 124, so she's on the easier side to gear. Like it's not like MO Poly where you're like way down base speed. You know, like she can hold her own book for flexibility and like giving your team soul burns. Very nice. Then we have the newly buffed LQC. This unit is actually a beast. Proof of valor to your team is insane. She kills evasion units, she kills dark units, and she's very solid. Only weakness I have for her is that she gets one-tapped by RNL and 30% mitigation cannot save her. I think that's the only thing I don't like about her. And like, normally like the single target unit would be weak to Arunka, but you can just pick Fumir to counter the Arunka, so it's no big deal anymore. Yeah, LQC super solid, very tanky, very nice damage. Yeah, and then you know she has like major CR cutting potential too. Yeah, very nice unit. Super glow up, and literally went from like outdated tier to S tier. Good job, Smilegate. Although I hate how tanky she is. She makes her team feel unkillable. And like turn 2 versus turn 2. But then we have free run. This unit will honestly never go away, which is a shame. I think the fact that free run can be played like you can play free run on 3 and slam 2 and then slam 2 cleave units and then just kaboom the other person. I feel like the fact that you can always play like that makes free run super strong. And like she's resistant to normal damage, right? So she'll always beat like trendy units like Arbiter Vildred. She'll honestly beat LQC, like the splash damage. If you have any sort of mitigation, LQC literally can't kill her. She's super good into like Zeo Cleave. She's decent into RNL because like, you know, RNL can't kill her, etc. Like Freeman would just never go away because she's too immune to like you know, normal damage dealers. You know, solid unit, and like, you know, she's immune to damage dealers, but also she gives you the option to cleave people all the time. Very solid unit that will never go away. And then we have Arya. I do think Arya is quite a bit worse, but I'm not too sure yet. I think Arya Yuha fell off a decent amount, mostly because like there's too much. Some units might be too tanky now. Like with LQC, with Estelle, like with Arrowwell, Arya actually struggles to kill stuff, and there's no more Warrior Frenzy. Like Arya used to be insanely OP in at least 25% of games because of Warrior Frenzy. Like it just made her an absolute monster, but Warrior Frenzy is gone now. So I do think her value went down a decent amount. But I need to test it a bit more. I'm not sure. I'm close to putting her in A tier. I'm not sure. I really don't think she's as good anymore. And we have Estelle. Estelle is an absolute pest still. For, you know, all the same reasons as before. She's very tanky, very annoying, and counters make you want to like blow your brains out. She protects her squishy units really well because of her giant shields, her big souls, and like, yeah, whatever. She's really annoying. But she is weak to debuffs for sure. Like if you steal her, she's pretty useless. If you play Mort, she could be pretty useless. But she still gets a lot of value. Just being like 40% mitigation. But yeah, really annoying unit. She's particularly good when you play with units who take 20% of their health and damage easily. So like she's good with free Ren, good with like Celine, good with squishy units in general, good with RNL, good with Renak, just really good with squishy units in general. Then we have Ross. I do think Ross is really strong this season because of Fumir, and also there are so many debuff threats. Like people slam Ludwig all the time, and sometimes you really need a unit who cannot be debuffed. So I think because of that, Ross is making a really big comeback, and also the Fervor set makes him do insane amounts of damage. I farmed a Fervor set that is equivalent to my HP set, and it does like more than 10% more damage, which is pretty crazy. I think my normal S3 does like 15k damage across the board when there are 4 targets now, which is pretty insane. That's up from like 13k damage. So yeah, Ross is absolutely a beast right now, or at least in my opinion he is. And then we have Ruel. Ruel will never go away. Ruel is the go-to unit right now against raw damage. Because, you know, like she's like the best answer to RB, right? Like RB, what are you gonna do? You're gonna revive, you're gonna give another unit full HP and invincibility. That is the best way to survive raw damage. Like Ruel is a necessity, she will never go away unless something's better than her. Then we have Aruel. I think Aruel is really strong right now. I think the escort is really good. The cutting potential is really good. The defense buff is sick. I think she's particularly good with like LQC and Ross because like they're both debuff resistant, and then they like make use of her mitigation and, you know, Proof of Valor plus Aruel escort. That's like 58% damage mit. You can say the same thing about Estelle. Like LQC plus Estelle or Aruel is the biggest mitigation in the game, and if the other person picks raw damage, they will lose. It's pretty nice. Yeah, Aruel is just a really sick unit. Then we have Celine. Celine is still decent, like as a DPS on 3. However, she does require you to be decently fast. Or yeah, she definitely. There are definitely some matchups that she can't deal with unless you're really fast, but like she's still solid. She can still put out a lot of damage, but she does have quite a bit of counterplay, especially with the new Fumir. Like her only answer to Fumir is outspeeding, but yeah. If you're fighting like a normal turn 2 player, she's definitely playable. But it's a bit harder. Honestly, I'm pretty close to moving her down, but I'm not convinced yet. I think she's like Freerun, where she like abuses speed by a lot. So I think if you have good speed to like, you know, enable her, she's still insane. And I have Zio and Bryceria here because these units are currently the best cleave openers in the game. Zio is very difficult to play. He gets a lot of and people flame this unit, right? Like he's like 40% win rate, but that's because he's difficult to play, and also you get completely shafted by RNG. Because basically all of Zio's bridges and stuff, they're RNG. Like your Pyre Flame could miss all her defense breaks. Your Elvira could like miss all her curses and Fear Slop. your Ludwig could miss like the most important buff block or silence or whatever. But yeah. But you know, if you high roll, if everything goes your way, you just absolutely murder people, and that's really fun. But Zio's strong. He's just very difficult to pilot, and even if you play it perfectly, you can still die to RNG. But he's very fun and strong, potentially. Then we have Bryceria. Oh yeah, Zio's also very he's very budget friendly because you don't need to be 330 speed. Which is the opposite of Bryceria. But Bryceria is literally a unit where like your speed gear is scales with your rank. Like if you're 320 something Bryceria, you know that you can make it to legend. If you're lower than 320, say like 310 to 320, you're probably gonna be stuck in Emperor like Vic or something. But this unit is insanely OP and scales with your speed. But yeah, I don't know. She's just really solid. Anti-revive. She's really good. The only issue is if you get outsped, you will die because you have no fallbacks because Bryceria stops you from, you know, picking revivers yourself. But yeah, then we have Arbiter Vildred. He's just like like a super solid raw damage dealer right now. Only second to Freeren. But at least he's not countered by Bellion or anything at least. Oh, only issue with RB is that this unit can't kill Freeren. Otherwise he's really good. His only downside is getting murdered by Freeren. And also he needs Biblis to be pre-banned to like make the most of. But otherwise, he's very, very strong. He does nuclear damage. He can one-shot Ruel. He can one-shot Nodos. He does tons of damage. Super strong on photo. But yeah, solid unit. You have Renak. Renak is still really annoying. If you have an insanely fast Renak, the other like people can't cleave you. Like if you put your top speed on Renak and you're like 320 something, you'll be mostly resistant to a whole bunch of cleavers, which is really nice. Not Zio cleavers though, but yeah. And like, you know, she's still a solid opener on 3 against like some certain drafts that are like really slow. And Renak's still a decent unit for sure. And we have the A tier, and we have Aube. I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant on this unit. I feel like she's useless. I feel like she's too gimmicky. I feel like she doesn't contribute enough. I feel like she doesn't help your team, and even if she presses her button, it's not an auto win. She's just weird. I think she's too reliant on taking first turn. She doesn't do enough with her first turn. I just don't really see what she does. But she works sometimes. She's a menace sometimes. There's just something weird about it. And also she can't like self-sufficiently soul burn without a mage, right? And like if you miss your debuffs, you're kind of bricked. This is my preliminary ranking for her after playing her for like 5 hours. She's really weird. She might end up being just a for fun pick, or she might end up being really good if you're 320 speed, but from my experience, outsped equals dead. Take a turn and still be useless. Take a turn and absolutely murder the other person. Win without doing anything. I don't know. It's hard to say. She's a really gimmicky unit. I don't think she can be any higher than A tier unless someone has like a genius draft for her, but like I don't see how you can have a draft for her that doesn't involve being 320 speed and outspeeding people. Cause like she's only 120 speed and she doesn't help if you get outsped. But yeah, this is my preliminary ranking. I could be wrong, but she doesn't feel that good to me right now. But yeah. And we have Luna. The A tier is like, you know, common picks. Luna is always a solid debuffer if someone is greedy and doesn't pick a cleanser in their 1-4, or maybe like units that aren't like debuff resistant, of course. Very solid unit. Then we have Aki. Aki was good before, the balance patch made him better. But if the other person isn't contesting speed, he just blows people up as long as they don't have ML Aria. He's crazy. And then Leica is a really solid extinction unit for like, you know, if the other person isn't picking speed at all. She's super solid. Like, she does tons of damage, especially with Fervor Set. No, yeah, I think she's like the go-to like speedy extinction unit right now. Then we have Aram. Aram is super good against Harsetti, and Harsetti is trending again because people are playing like pigs, so it's forcing people to play Harsetti. Then we have Bellion. Bellion is a solid pick for denying souls, especially because ML Ludwig is like everywhere. And also like Christie plus Bellion is pretty solid to be like debuff resistant. So yeah, Bellion's still really nice. And we have the newly buffed Dark Corvus. He's a beast in Harsetti games. If you pick Harsetti on 3, then you pick Dark Corvus on 4, like it's pretty sick. Like, he'll one-shot everything as long as there's no Illinav, especially because he ignores damage share now. Super nice unit. We have Illinav. I think Illinav is making a comeback, mostly because Ross is getting better, Dark Corvus is better, Harsetti is better, Illinav is decent in Harsetti. I think the unit is definitely viable again, just because the units she counters are coming back. And then we have Harsetti. Weakening set made Harsetti slightly more reliable because you can just slam weakening Harsetti and crown stun people if they're playing too greedy, which is really nice. Well, not really. It kind of shows like the meta is disgusting, right? Like people unironically slam like 3 speed based units on their 1-3 when Harsetti is available, and then they just die to her for fun. Yeah, Harsetti is pretty sick right now. Then we have Hecate. She's a decent last pick against people who are like, you know, very invested in their revive shenanigans, and like she's decent as like a Harsetti pick as well. Nothing crazy. Then we have Bologna. Bologna, honestly, this unit is only picked in Harsetti, but it can only be as a last pick now because of LQC and Dark Corvus. Honestly, she fell off a cliff. But, you know, she's still a menace if you pick her properly, but only as the last pick, unfortunately. Bologna, Assyria is decent. If someone picks like 4 low damage units, she'll just 1v4 them, which is really nice. Salome isn't played much anymore, and Salome kind of beat her up, but yeah. A lot of times people will pick 4 slow units, and then Assyria just murders them. It's pretty cool. Yeah, just don't pick this against evasion units. Like she will always lose to RNL, but she'll beat like a lot, and she'll always lose to like RNL and RV, but she'll beat everything else usually. And we have DN. DN's a really solid later pick debuffer. She has super synergy with stuff like Luna and Ross. Against anything with powerful passives, DN will be a very strong late pick. Just don't pick her against like Ruel or anything, because you run out of juice pretty quickly, and then it's not good. We have Setika. Setika is always the go-to last pick against like high damage drafts that lack debuffs, because you know, if you miss, you just lose so much damage when you miss. So yeah, Setika still decent. And then we have Sigrid. And honestly, Sigrid is just like a fear bot these days. Like, the only thing she's good for is is stopping people from counterattacking. Like, you rarely see this unit unless like they're being played with like Emil Celine or something. But yeah, she's not as good anymore. So yeah, pretty whatever. Emil Poly. You know, if you ever need to counter Fighting Spirit, Emil Poly is the go-to unit. Not much to say. You can't really play her as an opener unless you're absurdly fast, unfortunately. And we have Tori. Tori is I think Tori fell off quite a bit. I used to have her in S tier, but I think this game has way too much tempo for her. Like, she gets rolled by everything up here, loses to Arunka, Ludwig, can't kill Fumir, can't kill this one, can't kill this one. loses to these two, can't really kill this one. Like, can't really kill this. She has a lot of bad matchups. Can't deal with this one. Yeah, Tori just has way too many bad matchups. She's pretty much just an anti-evasion unit now. And then we have Bunny Dom. Bunny Dom is okay as a disruptor as long as you don't get feared by RNO or something. But she's pretty inconsistent. But and sometimes she's pretty threatening, and she will just like, you know, be a force ban. And sometimes people pick a draft where they have to press their buttons, so yeah, she's okay. And we have Salome. Salome had a pretty big fall from grace. I think Salome was at her peak when everyone was slamming Salome Ruel, but I feel like this isn't as good anymore. Because like there's a lot of tempo in the game that just like, you know, Salome can't keep up with, or maybe or like, okay, maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe it's still good, but people just stop playing it. But I don't know. I don't really see how good it is, how it is good anymore. But like, there's so much damage that just murders you. And like, you lose to skills cleave, you lose to no-dose, you lose to RNL shenanigans. Like you suck against the Runka. I don't know. Salome is okay, and Salome is okay, and she still has synergy with like the revivers, but I feel like there's less need to slam like Ruel and Yuha unless you're getting like hard cleave, then you're playing Ruel, sure. Like Salome plus Ruel is still a thing if you're getting cleave, otherwise like whatever. And then that's about it for A tier. And then we have like these B tier units. Like these are very rare picks that you'll almost never really use. And like they might win you a game when you do use them. Honestly, I wonder. There's not much to say about these units. Like, you know, a lot of them are super niche anti-cleaves. But yeah, and we have really outdated units. I don't know. I don't think they're really worth much talking about. They're super specific counter picks, or yeah, very rare counter picks. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.